Hi, and welcome to If These Heels Could Talk. I'm JoyGenea with Solutions by JoyGenea.
And I'm Michelle with Bad Cat Digital. And today we are joined by a very special guest, Brenda Eisenschenk, owner of InteleCONNECT. Welcome, Brenda.
Thank you. Excited to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Brenda and her team are celebrating 15 years in business with InteleCONNECT. She's proud to be a wife and mother and loves giving back to the community through her volunteering and her number one strength of woo, which I think we're going to hear more about. And I can also catch the woo with the fetching headdress there, Brenda, on the wall behind you. So, Brenda, we will start with the question that we start with our guests, kind of a little warm-up question, which is, what is your favorite brand or type of shoes?
All right. So for those that can't see me, I'm only like 5 foot tall. So, 5.25 inches, which is very important. So a lot of people would think it would be heels, to give me the height, but actually it's flip-flops. So my feet kind of dangle when I sit on the chair. So what I really like to do is just kick off my shoes and, sit Indian style, crisscross applesauce on the chair.
Sure.
Down to business. Yeah.
Sure.
Do you have a particular brand of flip-flop that you like?
Not really, although as we age, and I think one of your other podcast members said this, it's all about comfort, right? So as we age, I like to have a little bit of, arch support in there and things, not just the flat little cheap ones that are like paper. So
yeah,
those ones we wore in our 20s.
Yeah,
like
no.
Every once in a while I'm at a national park or something and I see some young person hiking in those things and I'm like, wow, okay.
Not well, those. So you're going to say you see them on the side of the path?
No, they're making it happen, but I'm like, oh, that's the toe pain tomorrow is going to just be so bad.
Well, and the thing about those really cheap ones, like every once in a while I'll be out and about and something will happen, or I'll run out of shoes, or I didn't have sandals, or we're going to the beach and I don't have the right shoe. You know what I mean? Like, so you go and you buy the cheapest thing you can because you're just doing it temporarily. But the little like thing that goes in between your toes on those is really uncomfortable. And then it's got that little like button thing on the bottom. And when they're so thin, you can feel it as you walk.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then they pop out sometimes.
And yeah, and then they pull right out or rip, or I'm like, okay, shoes should not just like rip.
That's why I'm saying there's a quality to a flip-flop. There's a grade. So Brenda prefers a flip-flop with a little quality.
Little quality. just more, it's more about the slip-on. So it could be a cute little sandal or something too, but just slipping your foot in and out of that shoe.
Yeah. I'm right there with you there. Absolutely. Awesome. Well, JoyGenea, do we have some other questions for Brenda?
Yeah, we're going to delve a little further than our favorite flip-flops.
Okay.
So, Brenda, this is a really interesting question. So you work in telecom, which is a really broad area. And it covers, phones, internet, wireless services, like it covers so many things. And that is on the forefront of technology and stuff. So you help make the technology happen, those types of things. What are some of the biggest trends you're kind of seeing right now in that field?
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I think a lot of what we're seeing is cloud services, so people migrating to the cloud. And by that, it started, years ago with just putting your voice in the cloud, getting rid of your traditional PBX systems on premise. PBX basically being the old phone system that sat, on the wall and took up a lot of real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So people are migrating and they're putting that into the cloud, basically into offsite data centers, and having the ability to make and receive phone calls from anywhere, any device, at any time. But it's evolved since then. So if you think about back, and I hate to always use COVID, it feels like we've been talking about it for 2 years, but as people went remote, the first thing IT departments did is said, okay, we got to get you remote. You got to work from home. Here's your computer. You forward your calls to your cell phone, maybe. So they were just about anything they could do to get them going. And then as it's becoming more prevalent and people are continuing to be remote workers or doing a hybrid model, it's becoming, okay, now we have to take all that technology that we shoved at you during, COVID, and basically say, okay, now how are we going to make it secure? So we have to figure out some type of cloud application where you can have single sign-on for security, making sure that everything is that all the data and all of the applications that they use on a day-to-day basis stay with the company and don't stay with the individual and go with them as they leave the company. So for security reasons, it's one of the biggest.
Security and data ownership.
Yes.
Yeah. Intellectual property. That's a challenge, as with especially younger, as we hire really young people, they want to use their phones for more and more. And I struggle because unless we're paying for the phone, the actual device or the service, it's not our device. Right. So it's a challenge to, kind of keep everybody connected the way that they would like to be. Right. But then also make sure that we're watching out for that kind of ever-present security. Absolutely. What are your clients really looking for from you right now? Really looking for from you right now? That's what I meant.
I think one of the biggest trends right now, or the hottest trends, is utilizing all the multiple platforms that we have out there to communicate with our clients. So especially like in your world, Michelle, and yours as well, JoyGenea, but you have people that want to chat, you have people that want to text only, you have people that want to do phone calls, but then you also have those that are doing email, and a lot of that is generational, depending on which generation you're a part of. And so what a lot of customers are wanting from us is, how do we take all of those multitudes of platforms and give our customer the best experience? So it's really hard to have one person, if you think of like an inside customer service rep, one person to handle all those means of communications. So contact center solutions is a big thing that can handle that. It pulls everything into one platform so that they can manage and juggle between the phone calls and the chat sessions and the emails, etc. So just having somebody that they can trust, I think, is what our customers are looking for, that can make recommendations and talk to them about what's out there, because there's a gazillion options. So
I'm going to add on to that in the fact that Brenda does my phone services. Part of why she's here is because she does my phone. Michelle, I believe she does yours.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And I waited way too long as a solopreneur to get my own phone number. And part of it was VoIP wasn't at a place that it is now. And so early on, I'm like, well, maybe I need another cell phone and then I'll get a number. Maybe I'll do Google phone numbers, which I have to say, doing Google numbers is I read it all the time in business stuff, and I'm like, that has not improved to that place. I don't feel not confidently feel good about that, putting that on a business card. So finally, like this year, I have a business phone line, and I got that, and I'm pointing it out just in the fact that, oh my gosh, the amount of freedom that brought and the ability to put everything together, just what Brenda was talking about. I was so surprised that and it did come with that. I bought the data center thing. And so it does pull in all of my messages. So to have this one platform that has all of that happening, what a huge time saver. Like all the things, I didn't even realize how much that all annoyed me and how much time it was taking up until all but the emails were in one spot. It was like, oh, this is such a huge help.
Well, and it doesn't cost as much as people think either. Like that's the challenge. It really doesn't cost as much as people think. When I talk with clients and make recommendations, like, do you want tracking numbers on your website? Do you want this? Do you want that? It doesn't cost that much at all. And they're resisting from this kind of place of the unknown rather than any sort of like rational space. It's almost a space of fear. Do you run into that a lot, Brenda? This kind of fear of what you're offering people? Do they just have a lot of questions and don't understand what you're even talking about?
Yeah, a lot of people, And, as much as we've been around for 15 years, as you mentioned, but as much as we present at Chamber or try to educate people, a lot of people just don't know. I think a lot of people, too, don't realize, like JoyGenea said, just having that freedom of keeping your personal cell phone personal.
Yeah.
And putting that line in the sand between your business and your personal life as well. I had a text, actually the last 2 mornings from a client, but it was an actual text on my cell phone. And my first thing was, who is this? Like, how did you get my number?
Yeah.
Without being rude, I'm like, I have no idea. I don't have your identity in my cell phone. So it was just kind of random and crazy, but yeah, it just kind of took me off guard. And luckily I'm up early. So when they texted at 6 a.m., I answered, but.
Well, just to wrap up, another thing that Brenda pointed out is she's a brokerage. And for people that don't quite understand that, and I find myself explaining that when I recommend your services, Brenda, it means, like, my first instinct was, I of course Googled VoIP, phone systems, and a pile of the options came up. And then I looked at those, and then I spent about an hour, looking at pricing stuff, and I went, wait a minute, I know a person that does this, and I know she will help even little solopreneur me's. So I'm like, I stopped myself. I'm like, why am I going to try and navigate this, figure this out, implement? And then when I had the meeting with Patrick, your awesome employee who helps implement this, I thought, oh my gosh, I could have screwed this up 5 ways from Sunday and then wasted more time doing this. So I'm like, why doesn't everybody just, like, this brokerage thing totally makes sense. You shop around, you tell me, here's what I want to make happen. Here's the outcome and goal. You tell me what's going to make that happen, and then help me actually implement that, so I don't have to watch 8 million YouTube videos and screw it up and call tech support. Like, please make that happen.
Yeah. And then we just pay the phone bill. It's pretty awesome.
Right. Yeah, you don't even have to pay me at all, basically.
We let them pay you. So
we let them pay us, yes.
I kind of wanted to clear that up about the whole brokerage thing, because I find a lot of people aren't familiar with that, and they want to be super independent. And I'm like, personally, I consider this being independent in the fact I didn't waste so much time and energy over there. Like, this is called asking for help. It's very constructive.
Yeah. I think a lot of people realize, like, when you look at insurance agents, it's kind of like that, where you can have a multitude of different vendors or products that you bring. People think sometimes the cost is inflated or we're adding extra dollars onto it, and that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
Really, we're there, and sometimes we know what we can get the number down to. So when there is that little wiggle room with the carrier, sometimes we can say, oh, no, this is what you can pay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it helps.
It's really kind of awesome, because, like, when I get phone calls from the carriers, or they want to kind of cut you out and come directly to us, because we get the sales calls, and I just say, I'm sorry, we're working with so-and-so. First of all, the sales calls stop in that cycle, which is really, really nice. I mean, obviously the next quarter they've got a new person with the renewed list and whatever. But the point is, though, it stops for that cycle. And I know I'm paying a good rate for all of these services, because I'm paying less than the special introductory offers that they're offering me on the phone. So I'm like, I'm already lower than what they're trying to out there sell everybody. And so, if they just look up my account a little bit before they made the phone call, they'd know.
Oh, you mean you're already on XYZ carrier? Whoops.
Oh, whoops. And the thing that's really, obviously I get it. It's a numbers game, and they need to make as many phone calls as possible in the shortest amount of time. So they're not going to look stuff up in advance. I understand that. But at the same time, it's just really gratifying to know that not only do I get the actual service itself of the, the internet and the phone, and the VoIP and the voicemail and all of those things. Not only do we get that, but I know I'm getting it at the best rate I can. And I know that I don't have to talk to them ever again. I never have to wait on hold. I do have to say really quick, the one story, we moved once, and a couple of times ago that we moved offices, and the day that we moved on a Friday, they messed up how the phone number transferred, like they canceled it instead of transferring or something. And Brenda on a Friday afternoon was in our office on hold for like 3 hours.
Oh.
And if I had to do that while I was coordinating an office move for staff, my head would have exploded. I would have killed somebody. So I
You might have
just
seen a little Exorcist or something.
oh
like
my
that.
gosh, I just really appreciate the service at stuff like that. So absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
What's the
Okay.
next question, Georgina?
I was gonna say, oh, fine, we'll get back on track. Thank you, though. This
You
is
said
good.
an hour, right? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
We're working on it. I love this question. I love finding out things about people's businesses. So what do you see in the future for InteleCONNECT, Brenda? What's kind of the vision for that?
Higher sales. No, I'm just kidding.
Good job. Way to go.
Excellent answer.
Yes.
Well, I'm really excited. Actually, we just hired a new employee that's going to start on Monday. So I think I can, well, assuming they show up at the door, isn't that the way this goes nowadays? But no, a solutions engineer. So we are very excited to have him on board. He will be guiding us through a lot of the sales engineering type process. So when we are getting into more of the cloud solutions and security, et cetera, he adds that extra layer of expertise that we can bring along and have conversations with people. So we're pretty excited about that. I think a lot of it is just having those deeper conversations with our customer. And it's not just the upper level management or IT anymore that we're talking to. It's the marketing departments, not that they're not upper level, but
That's a different
I should be careful there, right?
Understanding, but maybe have a different understanding of your product, right? Yeah.
I mean, they're the ones that are like, okay, we're going to put a chatbot on our website. Now, how does that work? So they're coming to the IT people and saying, here, I ordered all these applications, but I can't figure it out, So trying to figure that out, working with multi-departments is going to be a big thing for the future. Hopefully we will not move again. As you know, we've moved 3 times in 5 years. So.
Oh my gosh. But your new space is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
The last one was really nice too. But I like this one. It's very wide open and breezy.
It's got
easy breezy
room for growth.
Easy breezy, and it's got a lot of room for growth.
It
absolutely.
Does. It
absolutely.
Does. And we kind of did the little bad cat thing there too, where we put the little chair so you can just be comfy, like your yellow chairs are. Ideal, but yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's nice. Thank you. What is one thing in life or in business that you wish you had known a heck of a lot sooner?
Oh gosh. So I think the biggest thing that comes to my mind is, I don't know if you've ever read the book Purpose Driven Life. Mm-hmm. So I think realizing that everybody does truly have a purpose in this life, and sometimes we don't even know what it is, and sometimes it evolves, right, as we grow. And so I think really understanding that what that purpose is, and if you follow it and you let it guide you and you throw it out in the universe and let the universe, give you those signs and show you things, I think it really helps, because it'll just be kind of like, okay, we're your path and you're going to love what you do. So when I first had my first date, actually, with my husband, both he and I were walking around and we knew we wanted to be entrepreneurs. We just didn't know what. And so just kind of listening and watching our lives evolve and trying to figure out what that purpose was and what that career path was going to be to allow for us to do what we want to do. Yeah. So I think that's something. Yeah.
I like that. And I do think that really plays out. Roughly how old were you when you kind of figured that, if you don't mind me asking?
So ironically, I was reading the book about 8 years ago, and it was right at the time that my father had a stroke and shortly after passed away. And so when I went down to the hospital to deal with all this, I think it was almost like, okay, this is a sign. This is where I need to be. I have my team in place that needs to be there. And when you just start thinking about just where you are at that moment in time, it's just like, okay, this is my purpose. And and things just happened for a reason, So
Yeah.
it's kind of
As you're talking, it strikes me that part of the understanding your purpose is also understanding what your purpose isn't,
Right.
and being okay, drawing those lines and creating those boundaries. When you kind of sent some stuff ahead of the podcast, you had mentioned this concept of saying no and learning about saying no. Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah. So, as you had mentioned, one of my strengths is woo. So I always think of myself, I like to be involved. I like to, do as much as I can, etc. But sometimes when you're active, and you're always saying yes, you're really not doing the best job when you're constantly a yes person. And I think of that like when you're volunteering for different organizations or sitting on boards. So somebody told me one time, it's okay to say no. If you have too much on your plate, you can actually say no, and you can do it gracefully. So just being able to go, you know what, I would love to have a seat on your board, but at this point in my life, I have other things that take priorities, and that would mean I'd have to give up something else in order for me to do a good job at what you want. And I think a lot of that played into effect when my kids were younger. I was involved in my kids' activity. I kind of took a step back from, the chamber and the community and whatnot, and did more kids' activities, and got involved in the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts and the different activities that they were a part of, their sporting events and stuff. And then as they didn't need me anymore or want me around as they got teenagers, however that works.
They still want you around.
They do. And they want me more now again, too.
Yeah.
Out this adult
You're
stuff,
cool
right?
again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're both over 21. So, yes, I'm cool again. No,
that is not how that works.
No, but I think it changes and it evolves what you want to do. But you only have so many hours in a day, and you have to have that personal life too, and you have to have that fun time and that me time. So you have to be able to be okay to say no.
Yeah, comfortable saying no.
Yeah, and I think it's to the best to whatever organization you're saying no to, or job, or whatever it is. It's to their benefit as well, because you would only do a half quality job.
Brenda, because part of our target mission and so forth is reaching women entrepreneurs and women business owners. Something you said I just wanted to highlight a little bit more. How old were your kids when you started your business?
Oh, so that's kind of interesting. So 15 years ago, that would have, I had to do the backwards math here. So Matthew would have been 9 and Rachel would have been 7. And a little story behind that, I was always in sales before that. And so I was the last one to pick them up at Kid Stop. And sometimes they'd be waiting for me by the curb, like, hello, Mom, And when I started, it was awesome because I worked from home and they came home. So when they got off the bus, I could have that little chat with them. How was your day? Quick little thing. And then have them go and do their homework or whatever, finish up my job. When I had my operations manager, Lisa, joined me, she also had young children. And that was one of the things that attracted her, was giving her that flexibility to go home when they got off the bus. To have her working from my home with my children, there's a lot of trust that goes on there too, right? So my kids kind of had a second mom growing up in her. So that was kind of fun too. But yeah, I think I was a better mom because of it. Just being able to be there and be more flexible.
And what a cool thing for your kids to see.
That's what I was thinking.
Building. Yeah.
Like watching that evolve. And I'm assuming it was part of your equation and why you thought about starting the business. That was your kids' ages and stuff.
Yeah, that was part of it. Of course, now when they look back at it, they think I am in a horrible industry because all I do is sit on the phone and talk to people all day. They're like, we want no part of that succession plan. But
that is so funny. I love it. Well, Brenda, is there anything else you'd like to share or say? Otherwise, we will let you go. We know you have a very busy day. We thank you so much for squeezing us in here. This has been such an honor.
Well, thank you for having me. I love listening to your podcast every week and so thank you for having me be a part of it. This is awesome. Keep it up.
Well, you'll be happy to know, Brenda, that you are our 150th episode.
That is so cool.
Yes.
Congrats
thank you so much.
You guys.
Thank you. And thank you so much to everybody out there for keeping us around for 150 episodes. And thank you to JoyGenea for doing this with me for so long.
It's been a fun adventure.
It's been a fun ride to do this together. Every once in a while I listen to one of our really old podcasts and I think, okay, we've learned a lot and we've grown, the podcast gave us a real good connection point at the beginning of COVID and lockdown, and listening to some of those episodes and how far we've come and how scared we were and how unknown. And it's a really cool, almost like a time capsule of what we were thinking and feeling during that time. So I wouldn't give it up for anything, but thank you all. Thank you, Brenda. Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks everybody for joining us. Please stick around and catch us next week when we drop another podcast.